What you are listening to now is the IndyCar Report with Elijah Poe, our weekly look at the news and rumors around IndyCar. Today, Elijah Poe and I talked about the official 2026 schedule release. It's a fun podcast, a lot of good information, and needless to say, we're excited about the 2026 season. Please check back in every week for the IndyCar Report. During the off season, not exactly sure what day it'll be on every week, but just subscribe so that you never miss a podcast.
You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report's IndyCar Report with Elijah Poe. On this week's IndyCar Report, Greg and Elijah break down the 2026 schedule announced by the series on Tuesday. And here's your host, Greg Mingelt.
Welcome back, IndyCar fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report for today's IndyCar Report with Elijah Poe. Elijah, this is take two. We actually did this podcast a couple of days ago talking about the schedule, and it wasn't official, but here's what we know. And we did 25 minutes of solid podcasting, and I don't know, was it 10 minutes later? There was the official schedule came out, and we were like, well, now we're going to look like idiots if we release that. So here we are doing it again. Both of us very busy people, but also very passionate about IndyCar. So we're excited about this. The 2026 IndyCar schedule is out. And Elijah Poe, welcome, and your thoughts on the final product.
Yeah, I'm honestly at this point, we've been talking about the schedule and what it's going to look like in 2026, really the whole second half of the IndyCar season. And I'm just glad we've got something to look at and kind of materialize what IndyCar is going to look like here in the future. And there's a lot of exciting races on this calendar. Obviously, we're going to get into it, but I'm overall super pleased with what it looks like.
And Elijah, I'm going to go over the schedule in total here in just a minute. But first, I want to say that it starts March 1st in St. Petersburg. And then we have two of our new races at Phoenix on March 7th, which is a Saturday in conjunction with NASCAR. And then the streets of Arlington right next to Cowboy Stadium, which is just going to be super cool. And your thoughts on the two new races early in the year?
Really looking forward to both of these races. I feel like they've done a really great job at the beginning of the schedule of getting these two races jam packed right after St. Petersburg, and going to an oval on that second race. I think is really important to kind of show people what IndyCar is all about, especially on an oval. It's going to be great to see them back at Phoenix, and even better partnering up with NASCAR. I think that brings a lot of eyes on the sport, and we said it all year in 2025. IndyCars are fantastic on the ovals, and I'm sure they're going to be just the same in 2026 with the same package.
Yeah, no doubt. Great ad.
Yeah, and then when we head to Arlington, we see them back on a street course. They're going to be going around AT&T Stadium, and I know they're partnering up with the Dallas Cowboys, and the Texas Rangers as well. And I think it was just announced that Pepsi is going to be the sponsor or one of the bigger sponsors for that race. So I think there's going to be a lot of eyes on the sport really, really early. Just in the first 3 weeks, we've got great races, and to see them partner up with great organizations and be racing around the Dallas Cowboys Stadium and AT&T Stadium. It kind of is similar to what Formula One does down in Miami with Hard Rock Stadium, but I think it's going to be at a whole different level, and I'm really excited to see it play out
On a Sunday afternoon, and every race next season is on Fox.
Yeah, I think that, year two, the Fox partnership, I'm really excited to see what they're going to be able to do for their second full season. We talked about all year. It really felt like Fox was finding their stride just at the end half of the season. So to see them kind of have a full year under their belt and to know that every single race is going to be on network television is so huge for IndyCar.
And there's some other changes to the schedule before. And there's some other changes to the schedule, but the two other major ones are from downtown Toronto to Markham in Ontario for the race in Canada. And now the season is going to end in Monterey, California, at Laguna Seca. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I really think the move to Markham is really smart. Obviously, Toronto is going to be one of the big major players in hosting the World Cup here next year. And, IndyCar is smart to just get out of the space altogether and still be, 25, 30 minutes from the city itself. The track rendering looks great. A lot of IndyCar people are from the city of Markham. James Hinchcliffe is from there. So that's going to be really exciting to see. And I know they've got a hairpin that is really similar to Long Beach. I think on a roundabout that's going to provide some great camera angles and some great passing moments as well.
And the rest of the track looks really fast for a street course.
Yeah, it does, which is always great. You want to be able to show off what these cars can do and what these drivers have the ability of. And it really looks like it's set up to be a good one. And I know it's right next to a train stop. So, fans are going to be able to be there. I imagine the marketing from the Canadian side is going to be pretty heavy. And that's going to be all around a great event in year one.
And people don't know how big of a deal that is because people don't want to deal with the hassle of parking and paying for parking, and taking a bus or train to the race is always a great option when it's available. Also need to say that that is permanent, not permanent, but at least through 2030 that it's moving from Toronto to Markham, Ontario.
And I think it's smart for IndyCar to sign a multi-year deal because you never know. IndyCar has raced at Toronto for a very long time, but what's stopping Markham from maybe being an even better venue? That's totally a
Yeah.
possibility. And to get on to Laguna Seca, I am a little bit disappointed we're not ending off on an oval. But if there was a course to end on, I would have it be Laguna Seca or Road America, and just having it end off in Laguna Seca is going to be pretty special.
I think so. I don't have any problem, and we'll might as well get right to this then. I don't really have a problem with where they finish. I do have a bit of a problem with the lack of ovals, and adding two Milwaukee races isn't exactly what you want when you talk about adding ovals.
It's hard to disagree with you there. It is a shame we lost out on Iowa Speedway. That was pretty much writing on the walls, though. Everybody was suspecting that, and that is the case here for 2026. Do really think Milwaukee gives us some really great racing. They've
Yes.
done double headers in years past. The only
Yes.
thing I'm going to be interested to see in um, if both crowds are going to be able to really fill those stands, because that's kind of the risk you run with having a double header. One might come to the Saturday race, but they're not going to go to both, and vice versa.
And Milwaukee crowds have been hit and miss through the years since the split of CART and the IRL. It's really the crowds have been iffy at most times. It was pretty good this year.
It was good this year, and hopefully that turnout can garner some more support.
Okay, Elijah, let's go through the schedule and talk about each of the races. Sunday, March 1st is the season opener. As I said, every race on Fox. And the season opener continues to be the streets of St. Petersburg, and a great way to start in a great city.
Yeah, IndyCar's got that formula down of starting in St. Pete. The racing is awesome, and it really is a great way to kind of roll into the season. And March 1st, you always have some pretty good weather down there. Fingers crossed, obviously now that I said it. But it should be a really great race, and then there's nowhere better to start off the season.
It's always been a really good race. The last few years have been exceptional races.
Yep.
And I'm going to say this a lot, Elijah. Alex Palou is the defending champion at St. Petersburg, and I'm going to say that a lot.
Yeah, his name's gonna definitely pop up a lot here, and I'm really interested to see him on some of the new tracks next year. I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised if he's miles ahead just because he's that much more talented.
so good. Saturday, March 7th, just 6 days between races, very unusual in IndyCar. The return to Phoenix, one of the best tracks in all of IndyCar when it was out there. I can remember it going back to the early 80s in my childhood, watching the races there, watching Roberto Guerrero go from 22nd to first to win the race there. Um, so good to have it back.
Yeah, and just really looking forward to seeing Indy cars on ovals we haven't seen in a couple, in a significant amount of years where these cars have really changed. I'm really interested to see what the racing looks like, and I'm just happy IndyCar and the higher ups in the IndyCar series are willing to go to different ovals because that's what fans want.
Of course, there is no defending champion for Phoenix or the Streets of Arlington. I don't know what that race is going to be called yet. That's all they're calling it right now is the Streets of Arlington. But Joseph Newgarden won the last race in Phoenix in 2018. Then March 15th. So you go 3 straight weekends, which is a great way to go and kind of a not the best time in the sports calendar. No football, a really good time. I don't think I've mentioned this yet, but going from March 1st to September 6th is a really good plan. I just was February to early September, but add Homestead, you added Phoenix, maybe you can start to do that. But starting the season with 3 straight races is great. And the Streets of Arlington, of course, no defending champion.
It's hard to disagree with wanting the season to start earlier. We know they're going to add Mexico City. We know they're looking at maybe Denver or Washington, D.C. So if they want to get out before football season really starts, they're going to have to start in late February. And kind of like you said earlier, too, having back-to-back-to-back weekends of IndyCar to start the season is exactly what they should have done in 2025. We had that first race this year and had to have to wait for 2-3 week gaps in between races, and that was just miserable to be a fan. So I'm really glad they were able to fix that for this year.
On March 29th, they are at the Barber Motorsport Park. Alex Palou is the defending champion. And then 2 weeks between races before going to Long Beach, which is the second longest continuous running race in IndyCar. Another 2 weeks off before going to the road course in Indianapolis.
And it's a shame looking at the calendar, only seeing one race in April with Long Beach, especially because you've got the road course at IMS on the 9th of May. And, my mind automatically goes to, why don't you push that road course back a couple weeks so we can have the full month of May back at the track and kind of have the schedule we used to have years ago.
Love it.
But they're pretty head set in having the 2 weeks of practice. The first practice being the Tuesday after the GP, which if that's better for the track, I guess. But man, I would love to have them back on the oval for the pretty much the whole month.
Speaking of the Indy 500, this year it is Sunday, May 24th, the 110th running. Of course, Alex Palou is the defending champion. And I'm calling my shot right now, Elijah. Pato Award's winning it in 26.
Oh, could you imagine the numbers a Pato Award Indy 500 win would do for the sport of IndyCar? That would just be incredible. And I don't think there would be any fan that would hate to see him win that.
I know I wouldn't hate it. He deserves it.
He does.
The following weekend, they return to the streets of Detroit, where Kyle Kirkwood is the defending champion. And then they go straight to Worldwide Technology Raceway outside in the St. Louis suburbs in Madison, Illinois. Kyle Kirkwood is the defending champion of both of those, and good to see him schedule momentum behind the 500.
Yeah, seeing them go 500, very next weekend going to Detroit, very next weekend going to Worldwide Technology Raceway. That is a really, really competitive and really intense 3 races right there. And to see that play out back to back to back, like you said, that's picking up the momentum after the 500 and really, really smart planning by Penske Entertainment and IndyCar to get that done.
Then 2 of the best road courses on the slate, June 21st at Road America, where Alex Palou is the defending champion. Then July 5th at Mid-Ohio, where Scott Dixon is the defending champion because apparently Alex Palou fell asleep at the wheel, or else he'd be the defending champion there as well. Those, again, June 21st and July 5th, so a week off between those two. And, Elijah, I don't understand why they don't just run the race on the 4th of July.
Oh, I know. And
Every year.
especially with the Mid-Ohio crowd. They're one of the most energetic crowds we see all year. And what an event it would be to do a 4th of July Friday night. I guess they're worried about viewers not really wanting to watch the race because they're out.
Elijah, make it part of the, maybe the first year people don't know it's on or whatever, but you can make it like it's part of the day before Memorial Day.
Yeah.
You want an event where everybody knows every 4th of July the race is on. Whether it's a Monday, a Wednesday, a Saturday, a Sunday, just take advantage of that date and run it.
Yeah, and they've got it teed up perfectly this year with the 4th being on a Saturday.
Yeah.
But like you said, they do need to be racing on the 4th because IndyCar is an American sport. It's an American
Exactly.
series, and seeing that.
Associate yourself with it.
Exactly. I think that would be a brilliant idea from IndyCar. There might be a TV thing. You never really know what in nowadays
Sure.
sports market, but in
Sure.
theory, that would be awesome to see them running on the fourth.
Yeah, and you only do it if it's on Fox. If you move it to FS1, don't just
Yeah.
put it on the 5th. But
Yeah,
if
exactly.
you can do Fox on the 4th of July, early afternoon to early evening, somewhere in that frame, I think you got yourself something.
Yeah, hard to disagree.
And with the way things are now, Elijah, if somebody misses it because they have 4th of July plans, they'll see it if
Yeah.
they're interested. But you got to start thinking a little differently. And I think making that a huge event at Mid Ohio would be a great deal. And such an American team that's kind of the home team there with the Ray Halls. And when you
Hmm.
think of the Ray Halls, you think Americana. They're one
Yeah.
of those teams from the heart of America.
Plus, there's not really a better venue to do it other than maybe IMS, because the crowds
Yeah,
there have been so solid in years past, and the support from fans at Mid Ohio has been really huge. Like you said, I can't. It bewilders me why they wouldn't, because that would be such a great event.
have a patriotic parade on the track on the 4th of July,
Oh yeah,
followed by
fireworks after.
the race, and then big fireworks. It just works. It just works.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's it right there. It almost works too perfectly. I'm wondering why IndyCar hasn't done it.
And after a bit of an on off the air respite about why IndyCar doesn't do smart things sometimes, we're back. July 19th, 2 weeks after Mid Ohio, they go to Nashville, which has Nashville had been running a street course, which was a nice race and very scenic and aesthetically pleasing. But man, that oval is so good.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what IndyCar does when that street course is ready to be used again once the Titans complete their stadium, because both venues serve their purpose to a T. Both races are really competitive, and both races are really good. Um, but seeing Nashville not be the end, I personally, being an oval fan, I would just love to see IndyCar end off on an oval, especially for a championship battle. You got to think on an oval, anything could happen, and if it comes down to the last race at Laguna Seca and it's Alex Plo and somebody else, I think we all know who's winning that race.
Yeah, I'm not even going to say it because everybody who's interested in IndyCar knows exactly who you're talking about.
Mm.
Then down the home stretch we come, 2 weeks between Nashville and Portland, so they're going to have to do something to remind people that it's there. They go to Portland for a road course that's been pretty racy of late too. I wouldn't call it one of the best, but pretty good race.
Yeah, they've had some, especially last year, such a great race with Will Power being hunted down
So
by
good,
Christian Lundgaard and Alex Palou. That was a very intense race, and
so
with,
good.
with with the way the tires have been in the last few years, I feel like the degradation around that course, because they are running at very high speeds, it really differs between teams, and it's really played into the strategy calls in the last couple years.
The next week they go back to Ontario, as we mentioned, and then to Milwaukee on the Saturday, the 29th and 30th. Again, so good to be back in Milwaukee. Such a great race. Just even if it doesn't draw a great crowd, it's such a great place just for the mere fact that it's the oldest continually used racetrack in the world.
It's such a great venue. The racing is always very competitive. And seeing another doubleheader, I'm glad IndyCar has a doubleheader on the schedule. Not only do I just like doubleheaders because I feel like it really fills the whole weekend, I just feel like it makes the sport a little bit interesting.
Yeah,
Other than maybe NASCAR, you don't see open wheeled series doing doubleheader weekends. It's just not a thing.
I like it. My only point earlier when saying that's not what we meant by add ovals was
Yeah.
take one away from one place and add a doubleheader. Not that that's not a good thing. I would love a bunch of double. All the ovals were double headers. I'd be happy with it. I'm just saying, adding a second race at Milwaukee to me does not
doesn't really solve the problem.
Pocono is what we're talking about. Something like
Yeah.
that. You know, a really good super speedway would be the best way to go for me. But there aren't a lot of options anymore.
No, no, yeah, that's the only issue. Maybe even seeing him back at Texas would be an option, but it feels like that's
Mm.
kind of a done deal.
Yeah, I'm not sure those mile and a halfs quite work with this setup,
Yeah.
as well as the short tracks and the super speedways,
Well,
which
maybe in
they're
2028 when we get a new
spectacular.
yeah, maybe in 2028 when we get a new, completely different looking aero package and pretty much new car, maybe things can change then. But
I
I
want
would
to talk
also love
about
to.
that real fast. So I'm going to finish here, and they finish at Laguna Seca, as we said already. I want to talk about that.
Mhm.
Why would you go away from the successful formula?
Well, things still need upgrading over time. This chassis was introduced
Mm,
in 2014.
I
Having that,
understand, but it's produced the greatest racing in IndyCar history.
I think it's true, but also like sports in general, and especially motorsport, is always trying to
I know,
um,
I know.
engineer and kind of be intuitive with the way they have their cars. But yeah, I get the point you're saying though. But I do think it is going to be similar, and we're lucky enough that the Dallara engineers, they do have 11 really really good years of data to go off of, which is the only really kind
Good
of
point.
the benefit I could see them going with.
Good point. And they've made the cars a lot safer, and certainly in 11 years, they can make them even safer, and that's important. I just worry that because it has happened, you go to a new
Yeah.
chassis and it just is not the same, and the racing's not the same. And I don't ever want this to be not the same.
Yeah, I don't. I totally see where you're coming from. I'm with you as well. The racing quality we have right now is so good. Luckily,
Of course,
Delara's, they've got till 2028 season to kind of work on this. So the time is on their side, and it has been a while.
the early IRL days, I thought the racing couldn't get better than that,
Yeah.
and it has. So it's gotten even better. The quality of driving, for one, is just incredibly. But the road courses, street courses, a lot of people who watch motorsports used to say, "Oh, they're boring." One guy gets out in front and he leads the whole race, and that happened all the time. But it
Mhm.
doesn't happen anymore, or rarely happens now. And they've just
Yeah.
hit the exact right formula, especially with all the different strategies, and they've just hit the exact wrong formula. And I'm afraid if you mess with the formula, it could blow up.
Yeah, Alex Palou is really the only person we got to yell at for leading the pack the whole damn time.
Yeah, but even those
But
are mostly were competitive races.
I think that's what's so great about IndyCar right now. These
Yeah,
drivers are so skilled, and it really feels like Firestone's got the tire compounds really well worked out, and the strategy calls have been amazing.
the racing rules, the
Mm.
having to do different tires, and
Yep.
the push to pass or whatever it's called now, and the different
Hmm.
strategies like that have really
Yeah.
added to the sport in such a great way. And I was a purist at one point. I'm like, hey, just let the cars go as fast as you want. But now that I've seen the great racing that Formula racing can be, I love it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what they do in the future, and on that 2026 schedule, it really feels like we've got a pretty solid schedule to see, what IndyCar can be. I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, it's the best schedule in a long time, and maybe 2027 will be the best schedule we've ever seen.
With the additions of Mexico City and even talks about DC, maybe coming back to ovals, maybe even I would love IndyCar to go back to Watkins Glen. There's a lot of possibilities, and seeing Fox and have this dealership where they own a third of IndyCar now. I feel like we're really just starting to beginning to see what that relationship's going to look like.
There have been rumors of the Vegas Strip, like the Formula One used to do in the
Mm,
U.S. Grand Prix. There have been anything that you can add that makes it a big event. I'm for it.
yeah,
And
exactly.
all venues now are good with me because no matter where they race, they've been great races.
Yeah, yeah, you hit it on the nail. We're part of IndyCar right now where they could probably show up to the old Cleveland municipal airport and still have some amazing races.
Oh man, that was one of the best races there. Well, I used to love that one. You could go to a road. Oh, yeah, you could go to a road course and see the whole race. I love that.
Oh yeah,
that place was great. All right, thanks, Elijah. Let's go back to the airport in Cleveland. Good call.
Yeah, I would love to see them back there. I remember seeing clips when they first started racing there. It looked like the racing itself was crazy.
It was so cool. And to watch Michael Andretti and Alex Zanardi and man, that was some great racing. Kart didn't have a lot of great street and road courses at the time. It was kind of like what I said, with a lot of races dominated by one team or one driver, but Cleveland was special, man. That was just a special course. Such wide open racing.
Like you said, it's wide open racing. That's the best driver wins. You know, when a course is set up like that, it's really a battleground.
Hey, IndyCar, let's get back to Cleveland. Thanks, Elijah. Although it's one of the worst cities on earth, right?
No comment.
No comment. Okay, I'm still recording, just so you know. But I will say this: there are 3 races this year in Wisconsin, and that's got to be the worst state in America. But it produces great racing. So.
Never been up there. Heard there's good racing, and I've heard good beer.
Where my family's from, I'm just Wisconsin. Central Indiana Sports Report is brought to you by DG Media, and I love Susie.